Hey up! I hope you're alright everyone. How's tricks? Are you well? I was going to go outside and do a little sort of casual sit. Clearly that's not happening today, so I'm going to go inside and you're going to have to excuse the mess. Let's go through and have a little sit down. So, as you can see from the title, I thought I'd have a little chat about how I am, because something I've done recently, as you'll know, is a really long bike ride, and I thought it'd be best to vlog how I am after it all. For those that don't know, and those of you who haven't seen this already, this is 2 weeks later. So what date are we on today? It's the 8th of July. Obviously this is a bit in the past for you guys. 2 weeks ago I finished hopefully a world record bike ride, going through every county apart from Shropshire, doing 1139 miles in 8 days, averaged 142 a day, and I felt marvellous. As you'll have seen on the last video, I did not want to stop. I felt wonderful. Obviously I had some saddle issues. Turns out the saddle was too wide. I didn't know this until part way through the ride. Nothing you can do about it at the time. Since then I have bought myself an S-Works power saddle, 130mm wide. I have 95mm sit bones. That is unusually narrow, so got a cute little bum. So yeah, that's cost me a few quid, but I'd rather spend the money once than have a lifetime of saddle issues, because this is by far from the end of what I'm intending to do with this. So my body, as you'll have seen from the ride, what I should have done, I apologise, is put the actual Strava map of what I did on. Most days, consecutive days, my average heart rate got lower. Now, talking to other endurance athletes, your body adapts. It's something that happens. Your body adapts as you go through things like this. Now, obviously, I only did 8 days, so I don't know how long that adaptation would go. If it would reach a crux point, if there'd be an overlay, if it'd plateau, if it'd get worse. My knees were aching slightly, so I know my bike fit's not perfect. Knew that from the saddle anyway. And of course, from talking with Claire and Ryan on day 6 through the fens. I'm going back there soon to do an actual bike fit, because I've never had one. Everything I've done on my bike to date is through measuring. Careful measuring, lots of careful measuring. And, should we say winging it? I mean, it's alright. I've done about 20,000 miles on my bike so far. I've had no major issues, and I'm clearly not doing too badly. Yeah, knees were probably, after the saddle, the worst part. They were aching. Right leg more than the left. Now, I've got a long-standing injury from when I did London marathons, be it virtual or the actual one, and, well, distance running in general. I get, oh, you're going to have to excuse my mucky trousers here. I get ITB issues here. I get big tendon issues. And looking at my power data, I went out on Wednesday, just gone. Did a short, sharp 17.5 mile, my little personal TT route. I am still about 60% on my left leg. So clearly I am trying to protect that subconsciously. There's nothing wrong with my power levels. I was, over 200, I think was it 210 watts for the ride? It wasn't for long, it's nice to have a bit of a go, get the heart rate moving slightly, despite the average being still under 143. So, yeah, knees, so that's going to be addressed with saddle height and reach, I think, and position. I know my stem's good, potentially. What I might do is something that you see the pros do now at the moment. I'm going to pull my hoods in, because instead of riding straight arm like that, if you turn in like that, it relaxes your shoulder more. Plus, it's actually more aero as well, so I'm going to see about getting that done as well. I think it is just a case of loosening it off and tapping it across, but the bike's in for a service anyway. So weirdly, bar the saddle and knee issues, I was fine. And this was the thing that was most surprising to me. I said it a lot to Chris and Stuart during the last day. I could not believe how well I felt. And Chris kept telling me that it was because I was fit. Granted, I'm a lot fitter than I have been in the past, cycle fitness at least, because I've done 5,000 miles in 6 and a bit months. obviously training pays off, and your body does work in that respect. But I think what I'm going to do is start training longer and harder, so do longer tempo runs instead of just longer endurance runs. I said all for the training for this and trying to get people on board to join me, I wanted to do a 16 mile an hour average, and I thought with all the training that I've done on Zwift, outdoor 100-mile rides, back-to-backs, stuff like that, I would need 160 watts throughout the course of the whole thing. Some days I was at 130 or less, which I found absolutely astounding. But some of these days were pretty flat. Yeah, what I forgot to do, I neglected the fact that flat riding was far less needy of power. Be interesting to see what I could do on the flat, really, because we don't have it here. I think I'd probably do more stuff on Zwift because I'm not very good on the flat. Not very good at all, so I might just try and up my tempo-based fitness level. Apart from that, like I say, I was fine. It was really strange. I definitely didn't want to come home. We had a lovely night on the Saturday night. Driving home, knew I had to decamp everything, which is fine, you know, it's post-event. But Monday morning and the subsequent week at work, oh my God, that sucked. You know, Mondays are awful after a holiday anyway, but this whole thing had been in the planning since September 2019. That was when I first applied to Guinness. Obviously, the Guinness thing was just a bonus. It's raising money for charity is the main objective for all this. The Guinness thing was, to help try and generate more traffic to what I'm doing, to try and raise eyebrows. But as I mentioned on day 8, it is for reaching out to potential sponsors for the future to say, look, I'm a legitimate person here. I'm not just a guy after free stuff. I am after some help and I'm serious about what I'm doing, because I am. There's nothing more serious as far as I'm concerned. It's my life. It's all I want to do. I'd love to do this full time. I've probably bored you enough by saying that. Since the ride itself, I took 6 days off the bike. I didn't really ride. I went rock climbing a couple of times, and then I went down to Wiltshire to do Carmela's ride, where I went last year. I didn't take the GoPro because I didn't want to vlog it again. It was a different thing entirely this year, and I just wanted a little bit of a break from getting the camera out all the time, because obviously doing all this takes ages. I'm happy recording. The editing probably takes 3-4 hours per 15-20 minute video, so it's a big chunk of life. So I didn't take that. I ended up doing a sort of 77-mile ride that day, which was nice. It was a decent pace, similar pace to my ride basically, with 6 other people. Hi. It was a lovely day. We raised a load of money and I felt great. My knees were still aching a little bit at the end. And then again, I've just said Wednesday just gone, so that would be 10 days after the event. Bit more of a dig, bit more of a, well, that's supposed to be a tempo effort, but it really wasn't, even though I did my second ever fastest speed on the route, which is weird. So clearly my body hasn't gone into any recovery mode. I've done nothing but eat. Oh, I lost 4 kilos on the ride, despite eating loads, and I was drinking somewhere between 6 and 8 litres of water a day and electrolytes, not one of each, you know, a mix of that, you know, plus a pint here or there at the end of the day and other recovery drinks and what have you. But now I'm looking forward to the future as to a really hard winter of training, because I'm not doing a charity ride next year, but I'm going to hopefully do lots of things. I've got lots of stuff in the offing. I can't reveal anything right now because nothing is concrete, apart from the fact that I'm definitely entering the Fred Whitney again. I would like to try and get under 7 hours next year. That is a huge ask. That would put me in around the top 100 out of 2,500. Not sure if I can, but you know what? It's worth a go, isn't it? So that's enough about how I was. Mentally after that, it was awful. The bike, the Giant, after the ride, as you'll have seen, I had a tubeless puncture, which self-sealed 6 times. 6 times. Got me 40 miles-ish that morning before I swapped it out for one that was borrowed. Thanks Ian for the loan of the wheels. The bike itself, it got a couple of services. One from the guys from Seb in Kings Winford. He's a young bike mechanic. He basically took it off me, gave it me back in the morning, fully done. Yeah, wonderful. That was after a rainy part day of day 4. I cleaned it in devices. It didn't need anything. It didn't need O1 for anything. Obviously, I've been keeping it clean, keeping the drivetrain properly greased, oiled, waxed, whatever you want to use. I'm not getting into that debate. But I was very, very, very lucky. The day before I decided to go down to devices, I just tried to do a little test run after giving it another service myself. Turns out, I'll show you the picture here, my rear mech cable was about 3 clicks away from snapping, which is super lucky because I hadn't even covered a mile since the challenge. That was my first time on the bike since Newcastle, and it was shifting perfectly then. So it was obviously on its way out. It was a bit of a surprise to me because the bike's only done 2,500 miles. Granted, quite a lot of gear changing and power going through it because, you know, I live in a hilly area and I like to try up the hills. But yeah, it was a bit of a surprise. But Giant were great, and Kendall, I fired it at them. They didn't have time. It was in and out in an hour. I was really apologetic because I needed it that weekend. So the bike itself is booked in for a full service. I think I've got a loose spoke. There's a little bit of a noise from one of the wheels. I want to get a bottom bracket check, so it's in for a full service, however many points that covers. It's going to be worth it. They're not the cheapest things to do, but I want to be sure that the bike is set for future. I'm going to be riding it again in the morning, so I can listen out for anything. I'm going to drop it off with him. But yeah, I'm probably going to do another video on the Giant itself later in the year when it's reached, 5,000-6,000 miles, something like that, just to go through it. But yeah, I'm going to be planning for the future now, because next year I'd like to go abroad on the bike if I can at some point. Don't know how that's going to happen, but lots of people do it. I'd like to get to either Mallorca or into the Alps. But I'm going to try and sign up for some Audaxes next year. I've joined Audax UK. I've joined the Facebook group. I'm going through. I haven't done the process for the actual membership for the page yet. For Audax UK, I'd like to pick and choose some Audaxes. There's a couple of local guys here who do a lot of Audax stuff. So yeah, they've seen what I've done. I said, should I be doing Audaxes? And they're just like, this is what you do already, Scott. So, and Audaxes are great because they're nicely run. They're pretty chilled out. They're not all out sprints. They're not mega stupid, and they're cheap. And you can pick and choose. There's loads of distances. Yeah, as for the Guineas thing, one last bit. I've submitted all the evidence now. I've got a 12-week wait to find out if it's official. And then I'll be able to get a certificate sent to me, and depending on how much plaques are, buy a plaque. But from looking at, you won't believe this, looking at the website, I've got a 12-week wait to see if it's verified as a world record. I've sent them all of the data files and the logs of when I crossed each county border. That's free, but if you want to expedite it and get it all done within 5 days, it's 650 quid, I think, or 500. There's one or the other. It's an enormous amount of money. They obviously throw resources at it, don't they? And yeah, so yeah, I'll wait. I don't mind waiting. Anyway, I'm going to leave it at that. I know this is an informal thing, and I know I'm absolutely filthy at the state of me. I've been working on cars and working on my cruiser bike, trying to get that ready on my way at the weekend. This is my blowout weekend, my celebratory weekend, really, away with mates. So that's going to be a good laugh. I'm probably not going to take the camera with me because I'm having a little bit of a rest, but there's plenty of content, as you'd have seen, and there's plenty to come. Anyway, right, that's me. I'm going to get going now. Don't want to bore you all too much because, I'm so desperately trying to get these numbers up, and I'm conscious of prattling on too much. So thank you very much for watching. If you've got any questions, do fire away. I can still do hoodies. I've got potential another manufacturer for the hoodies, so I'm going to have a chat with them about what we can do, and it'll be directly sent from them to you instead of going through me. I've still got about 30 bike stands for a £5. Still a £5. The polycarbonate bike stands. If you want one of those, any money now from them will go into a future kitty to do similar events in, helps grow what I'm doing and put money into the charity, because that's what it's all about. Well, point of fact, I don't make any money out of this. This cost me lots of money. You know, I paid. If here's a fact for you. So on the ride, the charity ride, I raised something like £6,100. If you would have factored in, without sponsorship, the bike, hotels, fuel, food, it would have cost me about the same as what I raised. So fortunately people stepped in, but it still cost me a couple of grand at least, and it does that every year, but that's fine. I'm happy at that because I'm raising money for the charity. Well, not just that, I'm raising awareness and trying to spread the word about getting others to help and get on board. Anyway, I'm gonna go because, you know, Alex is back upstairs and I'm trying to teach him how to edit videos. So if my quality changes, it will be for the better. It'll be him doing it. Anyway, much love. I will see you later.